We're going to start off a little Yankees.
Great.
I don't quite get what the end game is for our good friend Brian Cashman, the vice president of the Yankees, general manager. He said so many wild things in the, I think, 65-minute press availability in Arizona that one of the things he said was buried and only came out yesterday in the Daily News, where he said, yeah, we expect, and I'm just paraphrasing now, not using the entire quote, yeah, we expect Giancarlo Stanton to get hurt again. You know, that's just part of what you get. And so I kind of tilted my head like the RCA dog. I said, well, there's three reasons he could say that. Number one, trying to light a fire under Stanton. Number two, getting Stanton ticked off so that Stanton would waive his blanket no trade clause and said, get me out of here. And number three, he's trying to get himself fired. I don't think it's that. I think he and Hal Steinbrenner are close, so I don't think he's trying to get himself fired, although the stuff he said and the way he said it, that doesn't fit the profile of the Yankee brand. And then you're knocking the availability of a player, the durability of a player whose acquisition is one of the black marks against your record because of what it does to the lineup and the roster and the ability to play people at DH throughout the season. So, and now there's a caveat to all this. Stanton's agent, Joel Wolfe, has read the comments and said, you know what? Again, I'm paraphrasing. Any foreign or domestic player that wants to come to New York, they should know you've got to have Teflon because this kind of stuff comes at you all the time, and you have to be able to shake it off. Now, one other caveat to that is Joel Wolfe happens to be the agent of Yamamoto, the most desired and best pitcher available on the free agent market. Is going to be posted from his Japanese team. He's won essentially the equivalent of 3 straight Cy Young Awards in Japan. So that's the guy who represents Yamamoto. I don't understand. I'm not going to sit here and rip him. We certainly did our share of that last week. I don't understand what Brian's doing. I don't get it.
Well, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah,
that's the positive.
And you know what, Don? He's probably right.
Yeah,
he's not lying.
He's right. He's not telling us anything we don't already know, but you usually don't hear that from the general manager of the team that player is on. Usually you get support. You find things to say positive about the player that you have, especially since he has a no-trade clause, and it looks like he's not going anywhere, that you would try to accentuate the positives. But Brian's on this kick now where he just can't stop himself from talking, and apparently all this happened on the same day. The craziness of that day masked what was a pretty important issue, what he said about Stanton. That's just how crazy he was the other day. Also, you ask yourself, well, this puts him in a position where now he has to replace Stanton, no? I mean, how do you have Stanton in the opening day lineup? If you're saying that this is a problem, that he can't stay healthy, well, isn't it now incumbent on you to now spend the offseason trying to find a replacement? You just admitted there's a problem, and then you're going to trot that problem out on opening day?
Well, I mean, if you look at Stanton's numbers, even when he's not available, if you put the totality of his numbers of the season, they're not bad. I mean, he does do some damage, although this last year he did not have a positive WAR, so that tells you he was not a positive player. But he does put up his 30 home runs. Now, here's the full quote, Don, from Wolf. I read the context of the entire interview. I think it's a good reminder for all free agents considering signing in New York, both foreign and domestic, that to play for that team, you've got to be made of Teflon, both mentally and physically, because you can never let your guard down, even in the offseason.
Well, that's not a good thing.
No, especially when he says foreign and domestically when he's representing Yamamoto.
Now, obviously, the most money is probably going to win out.
Right.
But it's not great. So what's the end game for Brian? He's an intelligent person. He obviously has a method to his madness. What's the method here?
I don't know.
Now, you said to motivate Stanton. Well, he knows the player better than we do. Maybe it will motivate Stanton, although I don't know how you can be motivated to not get hurt. Unless he's suggesting that, is he jaking it? Is he suggesting that there's times that he could play where he doesn't? But if it's just getting hurt, I don't know how you motivate somebody not to get hurt. So I don't think it has anything to do with motivation. Certainly he's not going to help him get a coveted free agent by going after a client of that agent. So it can't be anything there. It puts the onus on replacing him, but now you're going to make it difficult to trade him because you damaged his goods. I mean, their own general manager say, hey, take my player who I just destroyed 5 minutes ago. And he also has a no-trade clause, so I don't know if he's really going to be going anywhere. So I'm really struggling to see exactly what the motivation was here, unless Brian is just such stream of consciousness, or he's made some sort of blood oath to himself that he is going to be brutally honest no matter what. I mean, I don't know what, I didn't see the movie, but what was the plot?
Liar.
Of Liar.
Yeah, he just
right?
couldn't, he could not lie.
Right. Is that what it is? It's brutal truth. That's what we're going to do moving forward.
Boy, would that make things interesting.
Yeah, it would. I mean, and again, I appreciate the honesty, and he's not telling us anything we didn't already know, but usually there's an end game to everything that is said. So I'm really curious what Brian's end game is with this.
See, the one thing, and here's Brian's quote: "We try to limit the time he's down, according to the Daily News. But I'm not going to tell you he's going to play every game next year, because he's not. He's going to wind up getting hurt again, more likely than not, because it seems to be part of his game." That's a broadside swipe at your player who has 4 years and $98 million left on his contract.
But you should take it as a broadside swipe at your medical staff that seems to have this happen with a lot of players.
You know what? That's another thing that you'd have to say is on the table. But here's what I don't get. And you guys have been doing this with me for a long time. Brian's really smart. Now, whether you like him as a GM or not, he's a really smart guy. And for him to survive 35 years in the shark-infested waters of major sports and stay with one job shows you how smart and how much of a survivor he is. And he doesn't do anything without a purpose to it. And I think the three of us are kind of at a loss what the purpose is to this unbelievable, like, torrent of truths that he's speaking. Some of it in profane. This wasn't profane at all, but it is puzzling that you'd say that about your own player, who is a problem, who hit 211 2 years ago, who hit 190 this year, and you've got him for 4 years and $98 million. And if his play didn't devalue his trade value, your words now completely devalued him. Oh, he's going to get hurt again, by the way.
All right, let's take a deep dive here.
Please.
All right, let's play pop psychologist here. One of the things he said last week was how he didn't appreciate the slings and arrows that he was receiving both inside and outside the organization. So that there are people that are critical of him within the organization. Correct?
Yep.
I have that right. Is it possible that he wasn't all on board with getting Stanton, and one of the people that have been criticizing Brian was?
No, I think that, listen, there are only rumors about, like, deals, like who's responsible for it. That was Brian's. But Brian was all in on the Stanton.
Then I'm at a loss, because then that would make sense, Peter, right? Like, the guy's critical of him. Well, you wanted Stanton. Look where we are now. But he can't say that, but he can kind of, in a left-handed sort of way, say, well, I'm going to criticize the one guy that you forced us to go get. Again, I'm a little lost, Mike.
Yeah, that's really if it'll be a reach.
It could be a reach, but Peter, what's the answer? Sometimes we reach because what is reachable just doesn't make any sense.
Right, so you got to reach further.
Well, he did compliment him after, you know, the injury quote. He said, I know he's certainly better than what we saw last year. I know that when he's right and healthy, other than this past year, the guy's a great hitter and has been for a long time. But you kind of devalued him by saying he's going to get hurt again. And listen, I'm not knocking Brian for the comment. The comment is true. He is going to get hurt again. The way his body is, he can't run. And when he does run, he pulls a lower muscle, either his calf or his hamstring or his groin. We know that. We see it. That's why he can't run. That's why it looks like he's jaking it, and he's not jaking it, despite the screams and protests of those out there that say, why doesn't anybody jump on him because he's jaking it? Not jaking it. He can't run.
All right, let me try again. All right, since we're all reaching. Could this be, I'm going to insult the player, and maybe he'll waive his no-trade clause?
That's the only thing that I would sign up for. But I kind of think, you know, I've heard whispers from people in baseball, some of my friends, writers as well, that he might want to go because he doesn't like the criticism of why are you doing this? I mean, I'm trying my best.
Now, I don't know why you would go public, but kind of to Robert Saleh conversation yesterday where he doesn't believe you've got to go public with your insults. You could keep it in-house. It does hit different when it goes public. Like, you can go to Stanton and complain about his injuries and all that and try to waive his no-trade clause, and he's steadfast against that. Once it becomes public, it's like, all right, now you embarrass me. I want out of here. So there is sometimes something to making it public. Although I believe, and I had a conversation with Larry Brooks about this, because he also covers some baseball along with hockey, and both of those sports have no movement and no trade clauses. And Larry educated me that in most cases, you'll get players to waive their no-trade clause once you tell them, we don't want you. All right? You're killing us. We want you out. Why would a guy want to stay in an organization where nobody wants him? But maybe they tried that. It didn't work. And now Brian's like, oh, maybe if I go public, it'll really tick him off and he'll finally waive it. Because maybe there's a deal on the table with a team that they know he would never agree to go to. So this is a kind of a last resort to get him to waive his no-trade.
The only way that you could trade him and not pick up the entire salary. Now, other than that, I mean, you could just release him if you're going to pick up the entire salary. Now, if you do trade him, you don't have to pick up the entire salary. You just would have to pick up everything but the minimum part of the salary. So that's about $1 million. So over 4 years, you'd save $4 million. You have to pay $94 million for him to go away. But there is a way to get rid of him and not assume most of the salary, and the Red Sox did it. They piggybacked David Price onto Mookie Betts when they traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. You want Mookie Betts? You have to take David Price's onerous contract. Yankees could do that. Let's say there's a team out there that loves Gleyber Torres. You want Gleyber Torres? You're going to have to take at least half of Stanton's contract. Now, you're also going to have to make sure that Stanton accepts going there because Stanton does have a no-trade clause. Remember when the Marlins and Derek Jeter tried to trade him, he turned down a deal with the Cardinals and he turned down a deal to the Giants. Obviously wanted to go to the Dodgers because that's where he's from. He was a Dodger fan growing up. And then he accepted the Yankee deal. So it's not an easy maneuver. But, Gene Michael once told me I could trade anybody. Anybody. Now, who I'm going to get back, that I can't tell you.
Right.
So you're going to have to take somebody else's problem away in order for them to take on Stanton. And I believe that Stanton is a good player when he's healthy, except that the health part is certainly in question, and he's not the player he was when you acquired him from the Marlins. Can't run. If you can't run, you can't play defense. I mean, I look at when he's playing defense, and I like Giancarlo Stanton. I think he's handled New York better than most people. But he looks like he's playing on skates on the ice. Like he's just afraid to fall.
It's time to move on. And you're going to have to eat some of that salary, but I'm sure there's teams that for a discount would want his 30 home runs and would live with the fact that he can't run and that he has to be primarily a DH. There must be something on the table, Michael, that is frustrating Brian that he can't make it because of the no trade. Well, that's the only thing that makes sense.
And that was the part of the deal in acquiring him. He had a no trade with the Marlins. They gave him a 13-year deal with a no trade. So and then now along those lines, you're looking at the San Diego Padres, and this involves the Yankees and the Mets. The owner of the Padres, Peter Seidler, died today at the age of 63. And it was a poorly kept secret throughout Major League Baseball that he was really, really terribly ill for 2 years. And that the reason he was spending the way he was spending was he wanted to get a championship for his beloved San Diego before he passed away. He was very ill. Well, he passed away today. And now all that cash that he gave up on these long-term deals, which I guess he knew he wasn't going to have to deal with, now somebody's got to deal with it. So everybody that I respect in this business said that Juan Soto is definitely getting traded. Definitely. And what the Padres want, because they're losing Blake Snell, is they need pitching. They want ready-made young pitching. And the Yankees have that. If I'm the Yankees, would I give up Clark Schmidt and the kid Hampton in the minors for him? In a second, even for 1 year of them, I would do that. I like Clark Schmidt, but you give me Juan Soto for 1 year, I would do it. Now, the Mets want Soto as well, but the Mets desperately need pitching, so they might not have it. The Cubs and the Mariners are supposedly interested in as well. So there was some thought, they would keep going for it as long as Seidler was around, but Seidler passes away today. And you look at the roster and all the deals that he gave out. Bogarts, 13-year deal, no trade clause. Yu Darvish, no trade clause. Machado, no trade clause. Tatis, no trade clause. No trade clause. Complete blanket, no trade. So they've got to get rid of money because of the fact that they took a $50 million loan to meet payroll in September, and now their owner, who would do anything to bring a championship to San Diego, is no longer with us. They might have a fire sale. And maybe some of those guys with the no trade clauses, they want out as well. But I really believe now, even before Mr. Seidler passed away today, that Soto was going to get traded. And I'm telling you, you want to change the narrative about all what seems crazy in the Bronx lately? You get Soto, and fans will shut up. They will shut up.
But you're going to have to do that.
And then you have to win. How long will they be shut up for?
Until they don't win.
Until he goes 0 for 4 on opening day.
Yeah.
And then they boo.
But honestly, that would throw a lot of cover on what has been a really tough offseason in last year, finishing in 4th place. They're going to have to do something. And, Brian, I'm sure, with showing his frustration and getting aggravated about it, you could just tell where they are mentally. They need to make a big move. And this seems to be the one move that they should be able to make.
And one thing we just want to reiterate, and by the way, Soto plays all the time. You know how many games he played last year? 162. 35 home runs, 275. And that was a bad year, by the way. That was a bad year. 3-time All-Star, 3 Silver Slugger awards. The guy is a beast and a left-handed bat. But I do want to say this one thing. We're questioning why Brian said what he said about Stanton. And usually in this business, our big complaint is that people don't tell the truth. And we always joke, all three of us, about you put a mic in front of, front office people or players, and they just give you pap nonsense.
Yeah.
Brian Cashman is spitting facts, spitting truth.
Well, not facts.
What do you mean, not facts?
What he said the first day was not facts.
Yeah, we're pretty sleeping bad.
He's spitting fire. He's spitting hot fire.
Well, this was
I can't say it's true.
He chose violence.
He chose violence.
It's a great correction, Peter. Today, which was said on that day, it's factual. Yes. Stanton's not going to be healthy. His body won't allow it. And I think another frustrating thing, and nobody from the Yankees has told me this, if you're going to implement a system to keep somebody healthy, especially somebody who is now chronically injured with muscles, and you're going to put your health and science department to good use, you've got to have your hands on them the entire offseason. Stanton last year was at the pyramids. He's riding camels. I mean, this guy lives life. So you're not sending a trainer with him to Egypt. You're just not. So maybe that's frustrating to the Yankees. He's always in good shape. That's not the problem. He doesn't ever come in fat. The guy is a physical specimen, but there's obviously something wrong with his musculature that he can't stay healthy. This is not the player that hit 59 home runs for the Marlins. So Brian is correct. It's part of the game. He's going to get hurt. You're going to try to keep him as healthy as you can. But having Giancarlo Stanton on this Yankee team, everybody, what it does is it hamstrings everybody else and the ability to keep everybody else as healthy as you want. Because Aaron Judge should DH 20 games a year. Just to take some wear and tear off that 6'7" body. Anthony Rizzo should DH 20 times a year. But with Giancarlo there, I know last year they said, well, he's going to play the outfield. He'll get hurt. It just puts more wear and tear on his body. He's got to be the DH. And as long as you have him in the DH and he stays healthy for 120 games, that means that gives you only 42 games to play with the DH spot about. It's not good for the team. And I don't blame Hal Steinbrenner for not, I'll just eat the $98 million. No, that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. $98 million is a lot of money. But I know Yankee fans, they make so much money. It's a business, baby. It's just going to set fire to $98 million. It took forever to release Hicks. And it will take forever. I think he'll be on the Yankees 2 more years before they would even consider releasing him. And who knows? Maybe he stays healthy 1 year. But Cashman being this honest, again, I gave you all the things I think. One of them maybe, it could be that he's trying to get himself booted. I don't know. I think he likes the job. I don't know.
But why would you do that? Like, if you want out, just, resign.
No.
Whatever.
Then you don't get your money.
But you said he'd get a job in 5 minutes anyway.
But not at $5 million a year.
But now what you're doing is you'll get paid. But now people are like, this is doing damage to him. Why would you hurt your reputation? Like it's almost like, you wanted to get fired. That comes across as unstable. Now I don't know if you get a job in 5 minutes. So you're like, the crash and burn. The guy's been there 25 years. He's ripping everybody in the organization. He's ripping fans. I don't know if I want that. There's got to be a better way to be able to get out of your job than to do that. I don't think Brian would want to do that. I mean, he didn't have to sign the contract he signed. What was it, last year he signed it?
4-year extension.
Now, after 1 year, he's going to want to try to get fired?
Listen, I don't know. I don't believe that's the case, but for him to say these things like this, it doesn't seem like. Because again, I will repeat what I've always said. When I took the job with Yes in 2002, at that time it was owned by the Yankees. Then they sold it, and now they own it again. But it was always like a big. Listen, tell the truth, but remember, you always have to protect the Yankee brand. That's the most important thing.
Right.
So when the GM and the vice president of the team, one of the front-facing guys, says, we bleep down our leg, that's not really a Yankee brand way. So he went against everything that's always preached. Whatever, you can always tell the truth, but be careful about besmirching the Yankee brand. Is he besmirching it?
Yeah, but he's beyond, I think, that. Right, he's been there for so long. He's been there since 1986.
But you still don't want somebody ripping the brand.
I understand that, but if there's one guy that could feel comfortable doing it, it's probably Brian. He's got a job for life. He's been there since 1986. I don't think he's going to lose his job over something like this, where maybe you or Bob Lorenz might. It's different. I mean, he's not just your average employee. He's a member of the family. So you remember when I said to you, Michael, that when I feel like I do a good job, I don't go to Twitter? Because I don't care what people say. I felt like I did a good job. Well, Brian feels he's doing a great job. But he can't look away from Twitter because he has to hear it. And he probably just lost his temper because he probably feels that he's above reproach. Why am I being criticized? I think I'm the best general manager in baseball. Nobody could do a better job than me. Why are they criticizing me? That's why I think he lost his you-know-what last week. The Stanton stuff has me stumped, other than trying to get him to waive his no-trade clause. But I think this is somebody that feels very comfortable in his job and believes he's doing so well, he can't believe that he's being criticized.
I will take your phone calls on this. We have a lot of stuff to do. We are also going to take some viewer and listener emails. You want to hear children, Peter? You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is on DNR today, our great morning show from 6 to 10.
Sure.
DiPietro and Rothenberg. So yesterday we spoke about how we were going to, because the lines are always jammed. Everybody that wants to talk to us can't.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And it's a shame, but it's good. It means that people are listening. But, we said that we were going to take some viewer mail or listener mail.
Listener, sure, both.
And it's, if you want to, it's tmksespn@gmail.com. And here's DNR today.
Now all the other shows will have their own emails that they could talk about.
So you feel a way about this, don't you?
I do.
Well, you know what this is. They heard this and thought this
gave us no credit.
This is wonderful.
Now, I'm surprised that my best friend there, Rick.
Well, he's not a friend.
He is a friend because here's what I've always thought about, and we've done it before too. And Peter can speak to this because he's been in the business forever, the industry.
When you say the business, you also mean
Of course I do.
Yeah.
My point is this, everybody. I was in the car the other morning driving into the city, and that's when I listened to Howard. And at the end of his show, he's reading mail from listeners.
Yeah.
And I said, we've done this before. That's a good idea. We really should do that. And Peter, you've been doing it how long on Hot?
Well, we do it in a segment called The Gurus. It's a different kind of mail. On my podcast, I've done it always. And you know who else does it? Everyone who has to fill time and has a microphone. I mean, with all due respect,
I mean, Dave and Rick, do you really think that we're listen, if I'm stealing from anybody, it's Howard. And I gladly, and it's not even stealing from Howard.
It's just a mailbag. I mean, everybody does a mailbag. How long have Wilbon and Kornheiser been doing a mailbag?
It's a good point. Maybe this segment should be called Get Your Bag.
And I got to tell you, Michael, I didn't want to say anything, but I was listening this morning on the way to the gym. They took calls. I think they took that from us. We were taking calls.
They did? They took calls?
They
on
took
the
calls.
air?
On the air. Yeah.
What were they talking about? Sports?
Sports. Yeah. And I didn't want to say anything, but I'm like,
boy.
geez, this sounds familiar. This sounds like something I do 3.5 hours a day. But I said, you know what? I'm going to take the high road and realize that a lot of people can do the things that we do.
That's so good of you.
Right.
Don.
And what happens? We get.
I mean, but you know what?
Eviscerate.
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I feel kind of frisky today because I'm in a good mood.
I like it.
They stole RJ from us.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that the ultimate
about
theft?
that.
Well, yeah.
Think about
By
that.
the way, and in stealing, if you want to go further, in stealing RJ, they also stole sounds from the show and drops from the show as well. I mean, if we want to go, if we want to play this game, if you want to get here and dance,
We can dance.
listen, I'm Barishnikov, all right, all day long.
You stole RJ.
All day.
Something I'll never get over.
No, man, honestly, that's not hyperbole.
No, you know,
Yeah,
I've never
Michael
gotten
was
over
gutted by it.
No, I was hurt
To the
by it.
point-
I almost quit, right?
Right. You almost quit. You still have not talked to RJ about it.
No, I hate his guts. Listen, you guys want to dance? I'm Patrick Swayze. Where's Jennifer
Yeah,
Grey?
I'll lift you right up.
By the way, lift it up and show it to me.
Don't put.
And also, I do want to take a moment before our first break to apologize to everyone.
In what sense?
If you're watching on television, you may notice I'm wearing a sweatsuit, a matching.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah, what's
it's a
going
matching
on?
sweatsuit today.
Oh, dear God.
Today is one of those Manhattan days where you get an email saying your building has no water all day.
Oh.
So this was a no shower day.
He stinks.
So this is a sweatsuit day. I couldn't don in good faith without a shower put on the suit. It wouldn't have felt right. So that's why you're getting a beautiful matching dye gold sweatsuit. That's all you're getting today.
Hey, listen,
Whenever
playing fantasy sports is not getting you into shape, but NJ Dow can get you back into the starting line.